alcoholics live double lives, especially when you're in the stage of dependence. You try as much as you can to show that it is not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Because you also notice.
Yeah.
You also notice you're struggling. You're trying to stop, but you can't.
Yeah.
When you see most of these advertisements, they know how to hit the point.
Yeah.
The fun times.
Yes.
They always show togetherness.
Yes.
And you really need to enjoy this particular drink. And the latest research is showing that there are 7 cancers that one stands at risk to when you use alcohol.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Wheat Podcast. My name is Maggie, I'm your host. And today we are on a very interesting conversation that I'm really excited to have. I'm really excited to talk about alcoholism. Like, what is that? We really want to get to the depth of what it looks like. There's what we know, but it is something else to speak to someone who has conquered and gone through it and, talks about it very passionately. So I'm very excited to be joined by Nkatha.
Hi.
Nimekukaribisha hapa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Nkatha, I met you, is it now 2 years? No? Yeah, it is almost.
Year.
It's a year.
Last year.
I met you.
2022.
I met Nkatha at the Unmothering of the Woman event, and you introduced yourself to me. And from then we've been in touch.
Yes.
Actually, we've been in touch. And for that person who does not know, who is Nkatha?
Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm so excited, literally.
Yeah.
Nkatha is a mother. I love Jesus. And I like to call myself a recovery coach because of overcoming alcoholism. And currently 6 years, about 7 months sober.
Nice.
And just by a push of God to share my testimony, last year is when I remembered, oh my goodness, I had a certain past. So I call myself a recovery coach, chairperson of Graceful Youth Recovery Center. We focus on awareness, prevention in schools, institutions, communities. Chairperson, Graceful Youth Climate Action, which is a group
passionate about that.
Yeah, that came about a few months back.
Yeah,
where we decided to use planting trees with the youth, because every other day we have people reaching out to us, and especially the young people. And so we decided, why not create a movement? So they join in and become members, and we are going with them to these schools, and we have a mentorship program. And there's a bigger picture, when we talk about climate change mitigation. And then there's also a summit we call Sober Living Youth Summit. I'm a founder of that.
Oh, wow.
Where we bring in different experts in mental health, addictions. The highlight is usually the testimonies of those people who are in recovery, those who have used different drugs. They are better. Some have been sober years, others months. And we do these summits in schools, in universities. We've done with corporates, in the communities, grassroots, so that people in the community in different setups can know addiction is a disease and it is treatable, it is manageable. Yeah. And it's a mental health issue.
Love it. Yeah. Did you say you're a nutritionist?
Oh, yes. By profession.
Yeah.
By profession, I'm a nutritionist.
Yeah.
I've been practicing for about 15 years now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
When I met you, I knew you were a nutritionist. In fact, I saved Nkatha,
nutritionist.
nutritionist.
Yeah, everyone knows me as
and
that.
then my friend was looking for a nutritionist.
Yes.
I looked for you, and then you said, you know what? I'm focusing on addiction and alcoholism.
Yes.
So you are not like generalizing the nutrition. And I love that you were, at that point, you were specifically, I'm dealing with this right now.
When I was drawn to this field of advocacy, it was very clear it would need all my attention. And so most of my clients, I referred to other nutritionists. And once everything was settled, we also do a lot of nutrition when it comes to mental health. Because when we're dealing with the mind, when we're dealing with addictions, you cannot separate nutrition.
Yes.
And so we've also brought it on board so that we give a holistic approach to treatment, to recovery. So I don't practice nutrition as
broadly
I used to.
aspect. Yeah. So in exactly 1 or 2 minutes of knowing Nkatha, you will know that she is passionate about sober living. I have followed all your stories. I just love the passion.
Thank you.
And behind it, I know there is a story. Yeah. And I was like, I think this is the perfect person to come and, have this discussion about alcoholism.
Yeah.
How do you define alcoholism, by the way?
Oh wow, alcoholism. Alcoholism is a condition whereby you are using alcohol, and it has exposed you to lots of risk to your health, physically, emotionally, and you still use it. So that despite the dire consequences to your health, you're still using it because you're dependent on it. You can't live without it. That's how you know you're an alcoholic or you have an addiction. And addictions can be substance and non-substance. So it's not only limited to the alcohol, to the drugs, which could be prescription drugs, or the narcotics, the illegal drugs. It also includes habits. It could be gambling or porn. So it's that controlling habit or substance that you have tried to stop, you're unable. It has control over your life, and it is now causing harm.
Yeah. So where does Nkatha's story begin with this journey?
Well, I never ever thought about it until last year when I had a nudge from God to speak about the alcoholism and the past, and it was a dark past. And so last year, being 5 years sober, was the very first time I was able to reflect. Why did I reflect? Is because even as I was being asked to address, I had so many reasons as to why I couldn't do it. I was thinking of what will people think about me. I was thinking about my family. What will people say?
5 years in.
Yes. Now, coming public and just admitting and saying, I struggled with alcoholism. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was 3 days of anguish, of just breakdown. I couldn't even do anything.
Really?
Oh, it was tough. But on the 4th day, I understood, because after facing all those, let's call it stigma.
Overcoming stigma.
Yeah, it was now, and the condemnation and the self-hate. You think you've recovered really fully, but I don't think I had. But on the 4th day, just accepting that this is the route that God wants me to use, is when I was able to just look back. It started when I was an 18-year-old student. Brought up in a very stable home. We lacked for nothing, and the rules were a lot
strict.
Very strict.
Very strict.
Don't do.
Were they, for lack of a better word, very religious as well?
No,
just strict.
They were God-fearing, but just strict.
Very strict.
Strict. And I believe the strictness was more of guidance. Avoid
looking
this.
back now.
Yeah. And so one of the things was avoid alcohol, avoid relationships that are not beneficial. The men, and just focus on your life and your future. And so fast forward, after high school, my dream was to be a pilot. And I shared with my parents. They were excited. And I went to flying school. In fact, I always remember giving them the prospectus of the school I wanted to go, only for my father to just tell me, chill, I'll take you. I understand these things. He worked at an organization that has the largest aviation maintenance. I didn't know. It was a motor company. He was a chief accountant, and they had an aviation arm. And obviously, it had a flying school. So that's the flying school I went to. And life was good because I was doing what I loved. And that environment came as a shock because people came in driving their cars. People would talk about the fun they had, and I'm wondering, okay, am I the one who's who's living in a different world? I started questioning myself. So unconsciously, the guys who I'd hung out with, when they would talk about their fun moments, then those ideas would pop into my mind. And the clique I hung out with, one day some guy just asked, have you ever tried smoking? And I'm like, I would never dare. How? And it's like, just go and try. And he gave me a cigarette and one that was not looking like a cigarette. Why would I know a cigarette? Maybe because of the billboards. And obviously, I think I must have seen it somehow. And so I went home with these 2 sticks.
Your very strict parents, or you were living alone?
No, I was 18 years old, so I was living with them. So I knew I would have to sneak out in the garden at night.
Curiosity.
Yeah. Because what's this thing they keep
telling,
glamorizing and saying it really feels good. So I remember trying the cigarette. I coughed. I didn't like it, the smell. Then I tried the other little one. And I remember seeing the house go up.
Literally, these things happen.
That was the first and last time. I said this. I had to struggle getting up. So the house lifted. I said, "What is this?
What is that?"
I remember going back to school and just telling this guy, this one. He had a name for it. So I said, never, ever. And so you see, that was just a passive way of...
Passive introduction. Yeah.
And soon after that, it would be casual. Join us, we're going to the pub on our way home. You've already done your ground school. If you were flying that day, you've already done your hours. And so it became a habit. So that casual use of alcohol in an environment that of people who are using the substance is what... introduced me to alcohol. And so after flying school, I got my first license, which is a private pilot's license. And it was exciting because once you have a PPL, you can now pursue the commercial. I'd always wanted to work for the national airliner. And so I've already gotten prospectuses from South Africa, America, just ready to just do this thing, mostly abroad because of the costs. It's much cheaper. The weather is good all around the year, and I wanted to do it fast. And so I remember my parents telling me, "Oh, you know what? Why don't you go to university fast?" I say what? Why don't you go to university as we sort ourselves out?
Oh, financially?
They didn't say it really, but they said, as we sort ourselves out, why don't you go to university? Was referred to someone to check what diploma. Just a short course.
Anything, just anything.
As long as it was something to add on to.
Okay.
This aviation career path. And in fact, it sounded great because they were like, you would be a pilot who has papers. You have some educational, background. Additional. Went to the university, showed my results slip, and they were excited, and they were already telling me there's a letter that has been lying here for you. You've been invited to pursue a degree in nutrition at such and such a university. And that was the worst day of my life, let's just say.
I cannot imagine how you felt.
Yeah. So I knew I wouldn't tell my parents when I got home. And it was the days of landlines. Did you live during that time? It was
yes, I was there. Landline, I was there.
Yeah, so I knew I'm not going to share that information. But when I got home, a call had already been made. Hey, and they were excited. And everyone was just excited that you've been called by merit, by the Joint Admission Board.
While you inside, you're feeling,
inside I'm thinking, there goes the career. How will I ever fly? And I believe that's the onset of the depression. When I went to university to cope with the disappointment, I remembered what I had picked up in flying school, which was alcohol. And in the university, there was a student center. So when I was not in class, I was having a drink at the student center. And at times I would drink on my own. And at times it would be with people known to me. That's where I really abused
Were
alcohol.
You, what do you call it, living in the university or home?
I was living in the university.
Oh, okay.
So there was freedom to do as I pleased.
No one will know.
No one would know because alcoholics live double lives, especially when you're in the stage of dependence. You try as much as you can to show that it is not a problem.
It's not a
because
problem.
You also notice.
Yeah.
You also notice you're struggling. You're trying to stop, but you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the drinking exposed me to so much. What do you call it? I attempted rapes.
Ooh, danger.
A lot of danger. A lot of danger.
How long was the course?
It was a 4-year.
Ooh,
and
so 4
by
years
the grace
now
of God,
campus.
thank God, there was the trimesters. I took advantage of the long holidays and went back to school. So I did my degree in 3 years.
Umalizane.
I just
You just wanted to finish.
Just to finish. And because there's an incident that happened early in the first year that tainted my reputation, and it was because someone tried to take advantage of me when I was intoxicated. And everyone had their versions of that story. That incident changed how I perceived men. I always imagined a white wedding and love, and
now you wanted nothing.
And my parents having been married, and they had this lavish wedding. I always imagined, but something happened after that incident, and the ridicule, and trying to report it, and my state being questioned that I was not sober. So what am I coming to report?
Oh, so are you even sure?
Things like
those.
And then also with my allegations, many questioning, only for this man to do it to someone else a month later. And the same people who had really mocked me and would come to my face and say they don't think it is true, then coming to try and empathize or, say sorry. And I coped by drinking more. And I really didn't care.
You were very depressed then to think about
I didn't. I really didn't care. I drank more. And because alcohol, as I have come to study what it is it is a drug. So it alters the way your body functions. And because it is a drug, this particular alcohol has it's a psychoactive substance that has dependence producing properties. So as I drank more and as I drank heavily, my body got used to it. And so even the times I tried to stop, I would have withdrawal symptoms, which then discouraged me from stopping. And
you tried to stop on your own?
Yes, severally.
While it's still in campus?
Yes, because I would black out. I would drink to a stupor. I had no control over the drink. Yeah. Those are signs of
you need help.
Yeah. And those are early onset. It's early onset. You can know you have a problem.
Were there friends who were there to tell you also, or it's just you inward who was feeling, this is too much?
At that time, the people who are close to me, because it was someone close who violated me, I cut off those people. Okay. So their advice may not have come in handy. I didn't care. Obviously, there was whispers. Obviously, at one point, my parents knew.
Yeah.
And especially when I would call drunk.
You'd call the same parents that were strict drunk.
Oh man, it was just... I'd tell them, there's
Open
been
up
strikes.
your mind.
There's been strikes in that particular university.
Yeah.
And remember, there was one strike. We were not in the school. We were in a bar someplace. And so it's all over the media. And so they're calling to check, are you okay? And obviously, the response, you can know someone who's had one too many.
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain how it's bad out here. And my mom is saying, but Nkatha, you are drunk. I can hear it in your voice. And for them, they would get upset. Like, why are you drinking?
Why are you wasting yourself?
Exactly. And there would be no more discussion. It would be like, you need to do something about it. And there would be no conversations about it. So that's the dark side of it. After campus,
you went through 4 years, the
3 years,
graduated
graduated well. I never missed any cuts, so I never got retakes. Never did. And I graduated. It was just awesome having completed, because when you're drinking also, you're not the only one in that environment. You meet people who are also drinking. And there are those stories of people who came into campus and they drifted off into the slum area and now they were drinking the cheaper liquor. Those were realities. Those are things that we would see. And even people who were in my school, the department, we'd heard of stories of a girl who came in. She had a bright future, but had been in campus for 7-8 years, never graduated. There are those cases, guys who'd been there 10 years.
Yeah.
Then you wonder how 10 years. I mean, isn't there disciplinary? But there are those cases. So when I graduated in 3 years, I was like, oh my goodness, thank God. But I was in denial that I had a drinking problem. But I did put my life at risk many times.
What next after graduation? Did you go back to pilot, or now you had to practice what you've gone to school for? Aviation was a closed door now. By now, we never talked about it in the
Ivio too, and so. But I'd keep my license after graduation. I got a job. I was very aggressive. I'd really look for jobs aggressively. I'd go to functions. It could be a family function, and how everyone introduces themselves. So anywhere I'd hear nutrition or health, I would be on that person's case. And that's what happened. I got an opportunity and started work for an international organization. And my role was nutrition education. They have a range of nutritional products, supplements to be particular, and we were in a day and age then when people had no idea what are these supplements. Is it a replacement, or is it an addition, or is it is a supplement, it's an add-on. So my role was to educate lots of independent distributors, because it was a business opportunity. And I covered Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. It was an American company, so the Americas we went, and the South Africas we went because the regional office was in South Africa. And on these flights, especially the local ones within East Africa, guess who the co-pilots, guess who the first officers were?
Your
my former classmates.
Oh, God.
And they'll be like, hey, Nkatha, where are you off to? And they're like, where are you? Where did you disappear to? You know? And I'm saying, I'm a nutritionist, and I'm and it actually affected me. I would think, man, I would be. So I'd keep telling, and then I'd console myself. I'd be like, anyway, my work was to travel the world. Yeah, maybe not as a pilot, but look at all these trips I'm doing.
You don't miss it right now?
Oh,
do you
yes.
still think you would go back to aviation?
No, we do. I've done hours after, just to keep the license current. But I haven't flown for a while. You know, as a pilot, I haven't. But it's something that I would consider. Obviously, not commercially. You know, those dreams, they're on a vision board somewhere. Yeah. So highlight of these trips was the drink. So after meetings, say in Uganda, in Dodoma or Mwanza, or in Kampala, or someplace in Kenya, in Kisumu or in Kakamega, the highlight would be on a sinatabu at a bar somewhere. Socializing
alone
and getting
or
high.
With the people you've met?
At the beginning with colleagues,
but
then as the drinking progressed and it was becoming a bit out of hand, I would avoid colleagues. Because already there were people saying, hey, Nkatha, you drink too much. Or, you know, yesterday we went for this staff party. Even the MD noticed and it wasn't so good. And I started hiding from them.
What did that look like for you? When you say it got too bad, what did that look like for you?
Getting high and not dancing on tables. I don't think I ever danced on tables. But getting high and driving under the influence.
Okay.
Getting high, the next day is a work day.
Or would you show up to work, either hangover?
I probably would call in sick. I think I did a lot of sick leaves. And then towards the end, I just wouldn't call. I would disappear for a week.
Wow.
And,
a week?
And everyone is wondering, where is this woman, you know? And those are the guilt trips you would go through.
Oh, it's guilt now that's making you not show up?
Yeah, because you're wondering, what will they think the last time I drank too much? Or I went to work so tipsy. And things like those. Obviously, it interfered with work performance. Because if you're nursing a hangover, if you're not sober 100%, obviously that's a reality.
That's your performance will just...
Yeah. It was. And I remember I was a speaker, and I'd go to all these nations, and I was a product manager, and therefore there are countries that didn't have personnel in that area. So you go in and you can't do your work. Yeah, you drop the ball.
Gap.
A huge one.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely many warning letters.
You got warning letters
Obvious.
from your bosses
Obvious.
now? Yeah.
There's people who are concerned. Then there was no intervention such as now, where HR will want to understand, why are you drinking so much? Most HR departments, most organizations have mental health policies whereby they want to understand why somebody is coming to work in a certain state. Why are they withdrawn? Why has their work they're not meeting targets? Unlike then, it was just insubordination, and then you'd get
just a warning.
A warning.
No one is trying to understand what the issue is.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I appreciate now. You see, when you look back to then and now, there's a lot of improvements that have happened, because mental health is now a serious issue. Yeah.
How long did you work?
For that particular organization, I worked for 9 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, and it's towards the end. You see, because alcoholism is a chronic disease. It's not acquired immediately. It's progressive. It's not like an infectious disease. You're exposed to a virus now and you get it, and the symptoms appear. So chronic is after a prolonged use of this drug. So all those stories I'm telling you about is towards the end it's towards when the addiction when the alcoholism had just reached, that final stage. Like, there's a problem. Yeah. That's where now I would go to the office late because
or not show up now.
Or not show up. Yeah. things like those.
Did it have an impact on your physical health in those years? Or because of maybe the nutrition aspect, you are aware? And because I know there are people who even stop eating, so it has even the impact is more.
In fact, the more reason during those years of drinking, it was because I knew the harm that alcohol causes. Not as much as I know today. It was more of being particular about my diet. I would really...
You'd eat
would eat, not really well. At times, I would just make sure I take my supplements. I would take my vitamin C. I knew what... I didn't want hangovers and the side effects of the booze. Obviously, there's times I would go without meals. And I was the leanest during those periods of the drinking. Yeah, it's after I stopped drinking, I gained weight. But I've always
you were like
been
tiny,
lean.
tiny.
I've not shared those photos, but I used to, because it would be a night out till the wee hours of the morning, get home, drink some water, a glass of milk, and pop my supplements, sleep, wait for the next drinking spree, which is probably later that evening, and became a routine. It became a routine. So obviously my health was affected because alcohol causes harm.
It causes harm.
But did I have symptoms, or did I ever get sick, or a liver problem that manifested? No. Yeah.
And all this time, how is your relationship with alcohol affecting those around you?
Oh, wow.
If you look back, how is it affecting your relationships with your family, your people around you?
I became that person everyone was concerned about. Obviously, I was living on my own as a single person for some years. And because of the accidents, obviously that would get known by other family members, then everyone would be really concerned about me.
Accident, you mean car?
Yes, I would have a car accident here and there. Now that I remember, yeah. And so many people would be concerned. And their worry was, why am I not seeing this drug or this alcohol is messing me up?
Yeah.
Had many conversations with the parents, obviously. But I couldn't understand as well. So I would then pretend and avoid going home.
No, you don't want these people around.
Yes.
Yeah. Or because you're also trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many people who have a drinking problem have tried to stop numerously. It's not like someone does not get concerned when they black out in a club, or they wake up and they don't remember how they got home. They worry. They get concerned. So because of the denial and not wanting to acknowledge that a drink got you to that state, because it's perceived as recklessness, how could you, it's a moral issue, then you're so guarded.
Like a moral issue more. Yeah.
Or character
you don't care.
flaw.
Yeah, or you don't care
like,
about...
or it's self-imposed.
Yeah.
Like you got yourself into this mess.
Yeah.
When it is it's alcoholism, you have tried to stop, but there's something that is drawing you to the drink. And even as we talk about alcoholism and addictions, that's why we focus on what is really the underlying issue. It's not the substance.
It's not
really
the substance. For me, I have learned this side through your content, that it's actually an addiction. Like, someone is actually also caring. Because I used to, mbona mtu haoni? Mbona mtu haoni? And it's easy. Most of us wonder, kwani they don't see now it's harming them. Sure. I mean, yeah. So it's a good education point to tell people it's a struggle. Even you're struggling. Even at that point when people are asking, you can't see, even you're struggling to understand why you can't stop.
Yeah. And that's why we don't take it casually. when we see the advertisements that are so aggressive and where you just need to see an alcohol ad
And
you just want even before the triggers, even someone who's never used, when you see most of these advertisements, they know how to hit the point.
Yeah.
The fun times,
Yes.
they always show togetherness.
Yes.
And like, you really need to enjoy this particular drink.
To be around people.
And yes.
Yeah.
And then when you stop using, so they don't highlight that it is any amount of alcohol that is harmful to your health.
It's
Your
excessive.
physical.
It said it's excessive.
It's excessive.
Yes.
But research, we use evidence-based scientific research. And the latest research is showing that there are 7 cancers that one stands a risk to when you use alcohol, from cancer of the throat to cancer of the liver. There's a cancer of the stomach.
Yeah.
All these major organs that like the liver is a detoxifier, but it gets to a point that it's overworked. All alcohol is carbohydrates, so many people have pancreatic cancer or have issues with the sugars or balance. So I wish we could focus on the harm and prevention of prevention of this usage of these substances, because many young people, because
it looks fun.
And sherehe is sherehe. You just need to
It's actually through meeting you that I have seen how alcohol has been normalized.
Yeah.
Before, it was so normalized to a point I'm not seeing. Yeah, this is a problem. You would drive along Gong Road and see 10 billboards following each other. And now when you see people struggling with addiction, that is enough of a trigger to just send them back to drinking. I've been more aware through you saying, let's stop normalizing it.
And many people who go through recovery programs, there are different interventions. Most is to correct that behavior. You go through therapy so that you can be able to get yourself from environments that promoted the substance use to getting into environments where there is abstinence of the substance. Why do I say that? Many people who go through, say, rehab or go through psychosocial support, once they are through with their therapy, they go back to the same environments. There are many who relapse just by virtue of that environment, because it is fueled with these substances, whether it is the friends, the family, the environment, But now, because at times someone cannot change the environment, then you would encourage them to change the friends. Many people maintain the same friends. One thing that I unconsciously did when I stopped drinking was never to pick up any call from a drinking buddy. Till today, maybe the ones that I have picked up are people who know my story and they are calling to either get surprised that I really did struggle. Some knew I did, and others they are asking for solutions. And many of those who I used to drink with, they are those who have referred people who needed treatment, and they are in different rehabs in Kenya. So when we talk about the environment after recovery or the triggers, it is that we have to be sensitive that these advertisements that most alcohol companies are promoting aggressively on all platforms affect those people in recovery, and also keep those who are drinking in the habit, and also lure the youth or the young people, or even anyone in any age to try.
I can see that. I can see that a lot.
And so we would really, and it's not something that this conversation is always been there, that government through the parliament can come up with bills to regulate advertising, just as they have regulated tobacco
advertising.
Yes, and also you see there's alcohol Why do we have alcohol blow? Because they realize there's a level.
Accidents.
Yes, there's lots of accidents. Many people are driving under the influence. And there's a certain level of intoxication that you are not allowed to use a vehicle or machinery. So with such regulations, we're just hoping that the advertisements can be the other area
regulated.
that can be addressed.
I see where you're coming from. So even as we are talking about you accepting that you have a problem, you acknowledging, people telling you, what is your turning point? Where is this point where you like, this thing I have to stop? And you've said you've tried to stop several times. By the
I
way.
tried
How
many
did
times.
trying to stop look for you, by the way?
Trying to stop would always be after an incident. Like, what did I do last night?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there's one incident I remember very vividly many years ago. I'd gone for a function. It was a extended family function. It was a celebration. It must have been a graduation. I remember on that Monday, it was on a Saturday and Monday, I had been invited to a certain TV station to talk about nutrition. And I remember that they were to talk about children's health or something like that. And so I go to the Saturday party. I emceed. It was great. My friend, the whiskey's overflowed. And you know how you can say, yeah, just have one. Don't worry. Do you know, I left that place the next day. It was a relative's home next day. So it was a Saturday event in the evening. And it was not a big deal, just sleepover. It's not the first time visiting. And so woke up to Tualok. So
with more.
So you're waking up maybe at midday to Tualok. Remember now it's Sunday. And Monday is the interview at 9 a.m. So I remember after I've left the house or the home of a relative, tipsy, something just tells me, so you enter the local just for one.
Just one.
Oh, Lord. I think I was leaving the place at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm the one who drove myself because I don't think I was in a state. And I did show up for that interview at 9 a.m. And later on in the day, I just got messages, how dare you go on live TV high as a kite? Or people just sending messages and saying, Nkatha, were you okay today?
Like it was visible that you were high on the interview.
Hey. So that's one example of vowing never to have a drink ever.
Okay.
Because imagine, in your normal mind, many people would have cancelled.
Yes.
But like, I can't make it.
But you feel like you can still do it.
I can. I was tipsy. It must have been because 2 a.m. slept a few hours, got there maybe at 8. It was just a mess. It was a mess.
And
I always remember. I always remember that interview because recently I went back to that station after so many years, and we were talking about suicide and mental health, and I shared that part, and I said, "Wow." I mean, I thank God for redemption because I'm here sober. Yeah, because that was one of the worst incidences. So I stopped severally. I had a couple of accidents where my car rolled, never got a scratch, vowed never to drink again, but 3-4 days later was still drinking. So the turnaround came in 2016. I remember in January,
2016, just hold there. We were 18, how many years now ago?
What? Excuse me?
Not for the purpose of knowing your age. For the purpose of Nkatha,
no comment.
You look 20. So it's just for the purpose of understanding. It's been how many years of struggling to stop or starting to
over 12 years.
Over 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, over 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a journey.
Yeah,
it's a journey.
It was many years of stopping and then restarting. Like I said, I would stop for 6 months,
Oh, even
there's a
6
time.
months.
The longest I ever stopped was 6 months. Addiction is a recurring relapse, chronic recurring condition where you
Wow,
with
how
many
was
relapses.
life the 6 months?
Oh, it was fresh. Oh, it was great. It was awesome. Just being, no hangovers.
Being
It's a
effective.
hangover. You just feel great. And then, because I had been sober for so many months, I thought if I just have a drink, it's not going to be a big deal.
Oh, you're not going to fall hard.
It's
like
like we opened another can of worms.
Oh, God, yeah. Stay tuned for part 2 of Nkatha's story and learn more about her turnaround. If you have related so far with this episode, leave a comment in the comment section. And remember to subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on the podcast platform so that you can be notified when the next episode goes up. See you on the next episode.